Good morning, Saturday 4th of August. It's 10 minutes to 9 a.m. here in Australia, and here is my latest video blog. I haven't done a little video for probably about a month now. I've just been sitting back watching this bearish trend take over the markets for some time, and just sort of getting my head around what's next, what's coming up, and also just consolidating, I suppose, the emotions from a massive 2017 leading down into the middle of 2018, where it's been a pretty sad year. And I think anyone that's in crypto is looking for answers and trying to find some clarity on what is going to come up next. And I don't have all those answers, but I have been doing a lot of reading and having a look at the charts and looking back in history and seeing what's happened previously, what's going to be coming up in the next few years, and what's likely to be a catalyst trigger to getting the market going more towards a bullish trend in the future, and what events are going to cause the market to swing in emotion. And that's the big thing, and we're all looking for those particular answers. And I think one of the big things that's coming up is there is talk about an ETF, and there's a lot of FUD in the news. There's quite a lot of ETFs, which is an exchange traded fund, which will allow a little bit more confidence for certain institutions to bring money into the crypto space. However, with a lot of these ETFs, a lot of them have been knocked back, and their actual application, if they find that there's holes in their application, they ask them to resubmit. Sometimes they're delayed down the track, and there's all sorts of speculation and FUD around these ETFs. I think the Winklevoss has got knocked back, and when you go and actually look into it, there were a lot of positive and probably supported reasons why it was knocked back, and that's because they didn't address certain issues within their application. Now, there is some other ETFs coming up, I think around about the 16th of August. Now, is that going to be a catalyst towards a swing in the markets? I'm not too sure. It might be a non-event. It might get delayed, and when you look at some of the delays, I think they can delay up to 90 days or a certain amount of days. And if they do decide to delay this particular ETF, we may find that it will be even up to early March 2019. And again, that catalyst event that we're all looking for will be pushed back into a later date. I personally believe that this market is going to take off somewhere between 2020 and 2021, based on cycles, based on the agenda of moving a lot of the industries towards blockchain and getting a higher percentage of mass adoption. They're not going to wait too long. What they're trying to do is, and there's a lot of work going on in the background, not just in banking, but in a lot of industries, even from securities and all sorts of different elements of the financial institution that is coming forward with solutions in blockchain. And that's going to just happen over time. I mean, time is ticking, and you'll find that these will all of a sudden just manifest very, very quickly. And like I said, I think the Christmas or December 2021 is going to be a very, very similar event to what we saw in 2013, 2017, and again, hopefully in 2021. But that's a long way away, and I think a lot of people who are invested in the space are probably thinking, well, let's hope that we see another one or two bull trends before that. Now, I did have a look at the charts, and I will run through what I've just picked up on. Now, again, this is just speculation, and as you can see on this chart here, this is pretty much from May 2017, where we saw the first two major waves coming out of a positive 2016 into a huge bull trend in 2017. And then obviously the whole of 2018 has been fairly disappointing, as the energy of the December 2017 had to correct, and we've seen a bearish trend to now, and it's still looking very, very bearish. But if we go back, now this is just speculation, but it's something to think about, and it's very, very highly possible that this type of cycle may occur again. Now, if we look at January 2013, 2014, we had a very, very similar energy movement into the space. We went from not many billions of dollars up to about 15 billion market cap at that time, which was still very, very small compared to where we are now. But if you look at the market cap at 265 now in relation to the overall financial sector, it's obviously minuscule. However, this particular wave of energy did take, and there was a bearish trend for pretty much about a year and a half. And I had a look at what was a catalyst, and back in October the 5th approximately of 2015, for 30 days leading into November 2015, $2 billion, $2.5 billion entered the market, and it went from about 4 billion to 6.5 billion. And I see that as a signal. It was a very aggressive little movement back into the space, and there was a correction for that particular movement in the corresponding months, but again it took off again in December. It then dropped again in January, which has happened for the last 5 years. There has been a drop in January, I think, for the fiscal year, or the fiscal tax year. There was no doubt there's a bit of profit taking at that time, and then obviously leading into May 2016 into 2017, as you can see, it did get dwarfed, and we saw these two big waves, and history is behind us now. So I can see, are we going to see a year and a half of a bearish trend from this latest 2017 spike, as indicated in 2013-14? It's very, very possible. We may not see any energy come into the space that we would actually like to see until, say, March 2019, something like that. Imagine this ETF gets knocked back to then. Maybe there's going to be some other catalyst events, or maybe there's a talk of particular security platforms being developed, or there has to be some other reason for the market to take off, apart from the cartel actually moving in their billions of dollars. And that's pretty much how this whole market is moving at the moment. People with a lot of money, some major institutions, have been pumping up and manipulating, I'll use that word, this particular market. They've got $20 billion in their side pocket, and they can move that into the market within 24 hours, and we've seen that. We've seen it go from 260 billion to 280 billion pretty much in 24 hours, and before we can blink, the market is moving in a different direction. So it is very, very volatile, and I think it's going to remain like that for some time. But I'm hopeful that we see a little bit more positive movement. Say, if the ETF goes through, maybe. If it gets delayed, probably not. September, October, November, December this year, we may see a little bit more energy. Then we'll see it pull back in January again. And then I think we'll see a little bit of a kickoff in March 2019, which will show a percentage of growth throughout 2019, leading into 2020, 2021. Should be a very, very exciting period of time, and I think there will be a massive swing from securities over to blockchain. A whole heap of institutions are going to enter into the space because the platforms and the legislation and the financial instruments are actually being created, such as these exchange traded funds and whatnot. Once they've been put in place, the confidence and the security for these institutions to enter is going to be in place. Now, I just did a little bit of scrolling through news and other things that have caused catalyst events, and FUD and fear and uncertainty and doubt and all those things that we saw in 2017. There was a lot of manipulation through the news, a lot of swinging of the market up and down. We saw Mt. Gox go belly up last year, and they've got a whole heap of bitcoins that they're selling off at certain times, and that caused a whole heap of fear as well, because people didn't know when these particular amounts of money would be dropped, even though there were some indications of months. But Mt. Gox has come out again, and they're talking about repaying a lot of their creditors with Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash now, and even literal cash, which they've been able to liquidate from this particular event. They're looking at paying that off over the next few months, and I think they're going to be doing it in a little bit more of a controlled way, a bit more of in a way that's not going to affect the market. I think in the past they've dumped quite a few bitcoins, and it has caused a market swing. So I'm hopeful that sort of just Mt. Gox just does what they need to do without affecting the market. What else have I found? There's an article talking about how Bitcoin reaching $213,000 would have the capacity to be able to replace the US money supply. Now, a lot of people don't think that Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies are going to be the future in regards to financial instruments over fiat, and I think they're 100% wrong. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that everything will go to blockchain, everything will go to cryptocurrencies. In regards to one world governments and things like that, I think the reserve currency at some stage will move towards a neutral currency such as Bitcoin. Maybe it won't be narrowed down to one. It might not be just Bitcoin, and as you can see, there are a lot of other cryptocurrencies on the market, such as Verge, Dash, Bitcoin Cash. We know all of those can be used in pretty much any token or utility token that's on the market. I mean, there's even talk of BAB. If you want to have a look into what BAB is doing, they're creating an app and looking and seeking to empower the unbanked around the world, and they'll have their own token and a phone app. All sorts of exciting things are happening in this space. So what currency will take over the reserve currency? There's a whole heap of speculation. They're talking about 3 different sub-currencies or fiat currencies, a European, an Asian, and probably a US version or South American currency of some sort, but maybe that will be pushed aside and we do go towards Bitcoin. And I can see Bitcoin reaching 213,000 at some stage, but when, I'm not sure. It might be 2021. Bitcoin, a lot of those coins have been lost in wallets that have no longer got their passwords, and there's a whole heap of people holding onto Bitcoins, and I think the scarcity percentage will increase, and I can see Bitcoin definitely being leveraged in a way to support a financial peg in the future. Now, due to the volatility of cryptocurrencies, that is causing a major concern. So what are the solutions there? We've got things like Tether, we've got True USD. Maybe Bitcoin will create a fork which will be pegged towards one of those other stable coins. Maybe there will be some sort of algorithm or some other indicator mathematical equation to allow us to peg Bitcoin to this particular algorithm to maintain a level of stability. Maybe we just got to see Bitcoin reach, $1 trillion market cap before we see a level of stability that will ensure that it can be actually used as a reserve currency. I'm not too sure, but I definitely, deep down, I do believe that cryptocurrencies will be the future. There's no doubt about that, but will there be just one? Maybe not. Will Bitcoin be the king? I think it'll always be king to a degree, especially over the next 10 to 20 years, and then there might be an evolution of some sort. At the moment, I can't see a major disruption to that title. What else have I got? I've found a little article which I think just came out today about ICE. Now, ICE is Intercontinental Exchange, which is the owner of the New York Stock Exchange, the NYSE. Now, they have announced that they're going to be physically settling Bitcoin future contracts, and they're going to form a new company whose mission is to make Bitcoin a mainstream financial asset. Now, that is major news, and I think any of these major institutions that come forth and make a commitment to being able to create platforms and legislative financial tools that are going to allow mainstream into the market with confidence is a major win for crypto and blockchain as a whole. Now, I've just highlighted this particular paragraph. I'm going to read it out to you. Because ICE, one of the biggest names in finance, will serve as a custodian for all assets stored on the BACT platform, institutional investors such as pensions, endowments, and insurance companies may be less hesitant to take a bet on this burgeoning asset class. The investing landscape had consistently fingered a lack of a respected, regulated custodian as the primary reason that institutions were staying away from Bitcoin. BACT is designed to serve as a scalable on-ramp for institutional, merchant, and consumer participation in digital assets by promoting greater efficiency, security, and utility. We are collaborating to build an open platform that helps unlock the transformative potential of digital assets across global markets and commerce. However, far from just a Bitcoin futures exchange backed, whose other investors include Microsoft, subsidiary M12, Fortress, Pantera Capital, and Galaxy Digital, is intended to be a fully fledged platform that helps digital assets evolve into a mainstream financial asset class. In bringing regulated, connected infrastructure together with institutional and consumer applications for digital assets, we aim to build confidence in the asset class on a global scale, consistent with our track record for bringing transparency and trust to previously unregulated markets. And that was all from Jeffrey C. Sprecher, who's the founder and chairman and CEO of Intercontinental Exchange, ICE. So that's the type of talk that is going to create a bullish trend, a swing. More confidence comes into the market. Obviously, people have to understand what all this news means, and there has to be a tangible product and platform for the entry for these particular institutions. Until that happens, we may find that it's going to take some time. Now, I did pick up on a couple of new ICOs and things that are coming out. Now, there is Polymath, which was talking about providing a platform for securities to come over, and they were talking about security tokens. I think the big thing that I can see is the financial market. So the existing stock exchange will eventually migrate over to a blockchain version. And a lot of the existing companies, whether it's Apple, whether it's mining, whether it's banking, whether it's any of the existing publicly floated institutions, will have the ability to come over and create their own security tokens of some sort, which is going to maybe support and reduce the dilution of securities as they are. I think that's one of the most frustrating things for me when you go and invest in a security. There's a certain level of understanding of what your shares are worth, and then down the track they release small shares and there's a dilution. That's happened to me 3 times this year in companies that I thought were good decisions, and then they come out and dilute my initial investment. And it is very, very disheartening, and I know they're trying to raise funds and things like that, but I think the future of community, future of scarcity in regards to security and tokens, blockchain tokens, will help the capacity and potential of these companies. So this particular platform here is called Mobu. I know that I'm doing a bit of research on them now to see what they're offering and how that's going to correspond with the future of ICOs and the future of securities and security tokens, and bringing that over. And I think they're talking about their platform being live in March 2019. So again, it's still a little way away. We're looking at 2019, 2020, 2021 before we see another major swing of energy into the space. I'm hopeful that we'll see a little bit of a positive upswing for the end of this 2018, because it's been a horrible year for anyone that's been invested. And I do feel for anyone that got in January 2018, they've just watched their percentage or their position drop, 50% or more. Depends on what they're investing in. Obviously, Bitcoin has shown a little bit of stability. I know that sounds crazy, but in the last couple of months, it has actually shown a little bit of life and has shown a little bit of an upswing. It's always going to be volatile. Bitcoin's the king. I think anyone entering in the space should just look, without giving financial advice, but if everyone just had one Bitcoin put aside and you just lock that up, that allows a lot of flexibility into moving into some of the other highly volatile tokens. And again, you've got to do your research. In the top 100 especially, there's a whole heap of really cool products coming through the top 200, 300 on market cap in regards to the tokens. I think there's 1,700 cryptocurrencies now. A lot of them I would steer way away from. I think some of their products and their niches are really left of field. They'll do okay in the sense that their product might actually work, but in regards to investing and putting your money into it, I don't think you're going to see great returns like you may have seen in 2017, except for when we see this huge major bull run back into cryptocurrencies, when we see ETFs, we see security token platforms, and we see the security and the stock exchange and all these other financial institutions and hedge funds and whatnot all move over into the space. That's when you're going to want to have really good positions in cryptocurrencies, and it's all about timing in the market. When is that going to happen? I do believe 2021, that Christmas of 2021. Well, let's see. I mean, if it's earlier, I think everyone's happier. But if it's later, then it just gives us more time to consolidate our positions. So what have I got? That's pretty much it. I think we're still going through a bearish trend. A bit of a ramble there. I hope that added a little bit of value to what may be ahead. I'm looking for a signal, a 2 billion something, a particular catalyst event. Is it the ETF? Is it a $2 billion surge in Bitcoin? Where it just races away at some stage, August, September, October, November this year. Maybe it's going to be March, April, May 2019. I think we'll see a little bit of an upswing in December, but again, I think January is going to go psh. There's going to be a profit take, which seems to happen every year when you go and have a look at the charts. It's due to the fiscal tax year and whatnot. So you've got to go and do your research. You've got to put your helmet on, because I think from here, I think there's a lot of positive stuff. We've already gone through a major bear trend. So, all this depression and this horrible feeling for anyone that's been in the space leading into right now. And a bit of sideways action is what we're looking for. And I think 250 billion cap is that sort of testing period. I know it did get lower than that, got down to about 232 or 231. At some stage in the last 6 months, but again, if it's around about 250 and it goes sideways for a while, and then we see some catalyst events, we could see an uprise. So I think there's some huge opportunities to get into undervalued and oversold at the moment. Your due diligence, which is the term of cryptocurrencies, and invest wisely. So let me know what you think of all of that. I hope that gave you a bit of clarity. Tune into my next video. I've got a whole heap of things planned. Looking to contribute a little bit more over the next few days. So thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for the support.